Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and this week is not a very usual episode because if you're watching on the YouTube side of things, you can see my ugly mug front and center, and that's it, that's all. Now, don't click off just yet. PlainGuy is here, but he's in the background.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, not too much. At least I get to be at home in my comfy office while you're out on your office on the road.
I absolutely am on the road. Like you said, this podcast is a little different. I apologize to the YouTube viewers who have to stare at you at a much larger scale this week. Unfortunately, a last-minute work adventure came up. We will call it adventure because it wasn't just a typical day on the road or a typical tow.
Yeah, you're not going to be calling your wife and say, I'm going to be home a couple hours late.
I have left on Friday evening. It is currently Saturday evening, and I am on my way back from Knoxville, Tennessee, where we were lucky enough to go deliver a boat for a customer of ours. So
that's a good haul.
It was a great haul. I haven't really, up until recently, when we did the Baltimore Tow Show, I haven't really traveled much within the United States. And being that a lot of our listeners are from down here, it's kind of been a eye-opening experience that, I mean, towing is the same no matter where you are, but you guys just have some beautiful highways to drive. I have got to admit, I have done this I-81 from top to bottom now, and I would take this over our 400 highways in Ontario every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, the interstate system throughout the United States of America is just pretty much top notch. Like when you get down to the nitty gritty of the actual highways themselves, some of them might be in a little worse state than others. But the actual like grid, if you look at the interstate highway system from the air, you're like, that's a lot of connectivity that we just don't have up here in America Light.
In America, like that is a reference that you keep making. Now,
Yes.
Before I touch on that reference, it is a good time to mention, we always appreciate your comments, questions, and concerns. Do not forget, our Recovery of the Month calendars are still on sale. They are selling amazingly well. We thank each and every one of you for your support in purchasing these calendars. It is also a good time because I don't think we've actually announced it on the show. We have on our social media. We have teamed up with the Professional Towing Association of Ontario, and we are donating $5 from every calendar that is sold to their benevolent fund. The benevolent fund goes to support families and families of victims who have been hurt and or killed in the line of duty in Ontario. For a long time since we started this show, you and I have talked about we wanted to be able to give something back somehow. And I know it's not, we'd love to give thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars back to the industry because at the end of the day, the industry is what's been supporting us for me, the last 10 years.
Yep.
But we wanted to make a step in the right direction. So if you're looking to get your 2024 Recovery of the Month calendar, you can head over to www.towinglife.ca/recovery. You can place your order right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many calendars you want. We have been shipping out every week, normally every Thursday, and our customers from Canada to the U.S. seem to be getting them within about a 7-day period so far. That may change as we get a little closer to the holidays, so hurry up and get ahead of the holiday shipping rush. But if not, if you want to reach out to us, you can head over to towinglife.ca. There's a contact us there. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. Or if you're watching over on the YouTube side and you're getting tired of looking at G's face, why don't you scroll on down into the comment section and drop a comment down below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe while you are there.
Oh, you remembered all that. And plus, I've got a bone to pick with all you Americans out there, and I'm going to come at this from the bottom of my heart because you do make up a big portion of our listenership. The calendar sales aren't quite there yet for America. The Canadians are blowing it out of the park here. Now, I get it. We're giving $5 to charity for each calendar, and that's for an Ontario charity organization. But still, it's for a good cause. You get to see some cool trucks. You help support the show in a small way. You show your support to us and to the towing industry because it is giving back within the industry. Might not be your country, but it's still your industry. So get out there and buy our calendar, God damn it.
Well, you are. I can see why you never got into sales and you stuck with towing.
Exactly.
But, I appreciate your moxie on that.
I just tell it how it is.
So going back to your America Light.
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with that comment. You've been making that for a couple weeks now, and I'm not gonna claim to be an expert on America, but I have the people that I have met here throughout my trips. I don't think we're America Light.
No.
I don't think we're America Light. You guys do. They do it. They just do it too much better down here. First of all, they got the accents. You get that southern accent. I've been dealing with a gentleman with a southern accent this entire time for this trip, and I'm telling you, I am jealous of a southern accent. I may mock one throughout this show, especially as I tell a story of the encounter that we've had over this whole Tennessee weekend, we'll call it. But no, the Americans are, I don't know. First of all, the Americans, I don't think fully understand Canada. That is very apparent.
Yeah.
Like, for you Americans, it is very entertaining to know, right? Like, yes, no, we don't live in igloos. Yes, we have running water and hydro, and it's not winter all year round. Yes, it can get goddamn cold in the wintertime. I will not deny that fact. But, like, you know, there is, like, most of our population of Canada is actually below the northernmost point of the USA.
And we're not counting that as Alaska.
I'm not counting that as Alaska. If you look on a map, and I had the pleasure of teaching this to the gentleman that I delivered his boat to while we were having lunch, that, like, Wisconsin, and what's the other one they got way up north there, right next to Wisconsin? Minnesota.
Yeah.
Are all north of a big chunk of Toronto, like of a big chunk of Ontario, which is our most populated area for the most part, short of our California of the West, or California of the North, we should call it, out in Vancouver. So you guys they may actually be Canada Light, is what I would like to pitch. They're like they're almost Canadians. They're like honorary Canadians for their weather on where they line up on the compared to the equator. But they're a little more what do you want to call it? Happy and extreme at the same time, I will say.
Well, I don't quite agree with that because if you ever travel out to Alberta or Saskatchewan and you meet some of the folks out there, and I'm not speaking from experience because I haven't actually been out there, but I've been around the internet long enough to know what they kind of act and sound like. And if you watch two farmers on either side of the Canada border from Saskatchewan and Minnesota, I think they line up pretty well on a map and kind of geographically challenged. They're pretty much identical. And the only thing that really sets us and them apart is there's a border and a fence that, hell, a lot of these fields you can actually just walk across and then you might get spotted by a helicopter and have hell to pay at the end of the day. But the lifestyles are very similar once you get into the northern parts of farming country of America and the farming parts of Canada as well. And once you get into the cities, you start to see this melting pot of people, just like you do in America. And that's why I say that we're America Light, because we have a lot smaller of a population. We don't have as much of a melting pot, which might be good because there is some crazy people down in the States. And I think we have less crazy people overall, which is good. I'd like to keep it that way. I mean, you don't hear too many Florida man stories coming out of Canada.
No, that is true. We have like Quebec men stories, but no, it is true. So no, it's like I said, when it comes to our industry as a whole, I mean, we all face the same problems. But you are right, there is slight differences. Now, one thing that I did want to bring up today, and it actually comes to towing, and it has to do with the, like, we were, when I was at the Baltimore Tow Show, we went over some photos of some trucks, and they've got all the crazy lights and all that, right? Like, they are lighted out, no doubt. I actually encountered, this was only about an hour ago on my ride, and I'll keep you guys updated as we go if you want. This is the PlainGuy tracker. I am if I am not mistaken, I am currently just coming through Winchester, Virginia.
Okay.
Anyways, I passed the truck just south of there, a couple 100 miles, and maybe he's a listener. Maybe we get real lucky. It looked like a flatbed, smaller Ford Dodge flatbed. I couldn't get a good look at it. He was pulled over on the side of the road. He was providing service. The reason that I could not get a good look at it is because I'm all for rear-facing lights for work lights. Like, work lights are super important when it comes to our job.
Yep.
But this thing had at least the 2 winch lights and a solid, like, 60-inch white bar across the beacon, the top of the beacon, not the beacon, but the pylon.
So that white light washed out the beacon light.
I could not see his beacon lights. Yeah. It was not until I got past him that I could see his beacon lights. Not only could I not see his beacon lights, I couldn't see a goddamn thing for about a quarter mile after.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for putting lights on it, and, like, but watch, you know, I hope you're listening to that. Like, it's the importance of lights. Right, like we've talked about that where we run traffic control trucks, right? With one of the trucks I'm currently driving, and we have the fold-up arrow boards on the roof. And one of the general rules that we keep is we don't put our strobe lights up higher if we can avoid than our tailgate. And the reason for that is that if you put your lights up too high, and white lights apply to this too, like solid white work lights, you actually, you know, flood out or blind out what it is that you are trying to appeal to. So all I see coming up on this guy is pure white. Now, I'm obviously slowing down and moving over because I don't know what I'm looking at. Yep. Right? So common sense, which may not be so common among a lot of our drivers, is, you know, to move, like, to slow down and kind of, like, you know, figure out what it is you're looking at.
Yep.
But my first instinct should have been to move over. But it's not, because I don't see the orange flashing lights. I don't even see four-ways. I don't know if this is a farm tractor cutting the ditch.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, the importance of, you know, your orange lights and making sure they're visible. I mean, props to you. Like, this thing was bright. I mean, this guy could clearly see what he was doing. But, you know, maybe we need to step it back a little bit on the lights.
Honestly, like, a good common rule of thumb, what we use in the company I'm at, is if we all love strobe lights. Obviously, a lot of people actually get into this industry because it's a way to have flashy lights.
Those are also the guys that don't take the lights super long, but
guilty. I like flashy
proven.
lights. Anyways, common rule of thumb is if you want a fast strobing pattern, you put that on the front. You put the slow flashing patterns on the back. And the reason being is, hey, if someone's coming at you from the front, normally you're doing some sketchy shit, whether that be you're facing the wrong way of the road and you really need to grab someone's attention, or you're pulling out into traffic trying to get a disabled vehicle out of the ditch, whatever the case may be. You need people to immediately, hey, there's something going on here, and immediately catch that attention. But if they're coming up from the back of you and you're doing a tire change on the side of the road and you're parked behind the disabled vehicle because I would rather have a 20,000-pound dead weight anchor blocking for my life working on the side of the road. That's my own personal opinion on that matter. You want it to be slower. So it still brings awareness to you, but it's not so in your face and all encompassing. The same thing being
so
is these white these white work lights that are rear facing, so while you're driving up on it, and that's all you can see. That's not good. Just like PlainGuy was saying, you can't see if there's beacon lights there. And if you got a super bright white light shining and reflecting into your eyeballs, that's all you can see. Well, how easy is it going to be to see high visibility? Like a high-vis jacket.
I could not see this operator. I don't know where he was. He might have been in his truck.
Well, the
eyes take a
way
second to
high vis works
readjust.
is it takes the light that's shining to it and reflects it back. So if you've got ample amount of light shining back already, the headlights trying to reflect light back off of your high vis sweater isn't going to reach its target very easily because it's being washed out by all the other bright light that you've got shining that direction. So, yes, we want to be seen. Yes, we need to have flashy lights, but I honestly
you need
think
to
a
have white
slower
work lights,
flashing
too.
pattern and a little less intensity, especially in the white light, is better for the rear facing.
Because one thing they'll tell you is that you want to create, whenever you are setting up with your lights and your pylons and your everything else, is you want to create what they call visual noise. Right? You want to create something that does snap, right? People are just so focused nowadays driving down the road. They get zoned in. Hey, you know, I could sit here and say the same thing, right? I'm on a 2,000-mile round trip. I've been alert. I've been focused. We've been, you know, we're having this conversation via Bluetooth and everything else so that we can maintain our focus on the road. You need to create a little bit of a distraction, like not a little bit. You need to create visual noise to snap people out of that daze that they get into while driving down the highway or driving down the, you know, any road. But you don't want to get it to the point where it's a visual overload that they don't go, you know, oh, coming up, oh, I see some flashing lights coming up ahead. All right, perfect. I'm going to move over to this lane. I'm going to, you know, you come up and it's just white and yellow and it's a like a blizzard of lights. It can actually, in my opinion, and from my experience driving down the road, be worse.
100%. If a car is oncoming to you and they're driving down the road with their high beams on, it's hard for you to see. Well, if you've got white work lights 15, 16 feet up in the air on a pylon, or your bed's tilted and it's up at the top on your light bar, shining back into driver's eyes, that's a problem. I've worked with a gentleman who he swears whenever he does something, every light on that truck gets turned on, regardless if it's in a parking lot, driveway, side of the road, whatever. And I get it. He wants to be seen. I understand that. But it comes to a point where you're being seen too much to where if they're barreling down the road, they don't know what they're aiming at because they can't see anything other than white light in their eyes. Like, I've got lights shining on me now, but if I look directly at the light and look away, everything is now blurry and fuzzy.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's just the eyes adjusting and everything else. And night driving can make it worse. I mean, we don't run our work lights too often during the day, and they also don't affect people the same way during the day. But yeah, no. So if you need a 60-inch white rear-facing light bar on the top of your flatbed, I mean, I got news for you. I don't know what you guys thought down here, but our version of Canadian Tire sells a little headband light. You can buy different versions of that, neckband, headband, all kinds of different things. You know, you can see just as much. You know, you don't need to make that thing daytime on the side of the highway. If you can't see the control arms, that you need to go daytime to be able to hook that thing on there to get it done. I just think it's a little overkill. And to the operator, hey, I don't know if he's listening. I don't know if anybody listening has a similar setup to that. I'm not trying to shit on you. I'm just trying to give you an opinion from somebody coming up on it that it's a bad habit to have, and I think it's something that you know, you should maybe let's reevaluate what we got in our trucks. Make sure that we're not running that on our own too, right? I've got work lights on my trucks.
Like, we all need to see, right? We need to see what we're doing. We need to, especially if you're one of those people that drives something up onto the bed, we don't condone it.
No, I will fire you.
Exactly. If you drive something up onto the bed and you need to get off, you need to do it safely. So you need those upper work lights, because if you've driven that car onto the bed, those winch lights aren't illuminating too much because the bumper of the car might be blocking them. So then your next bet, oh, well, I'll just turn on the upper work lights. That'll help me see to get off the bed and help me see to do my tire straps or whatever you got to do. Yes, it does help you see. I will admit that. But you're blinding people behind you. Something that could maybe fix that on your headache rack closer to the top. Get a couple of little 6-inch LED bars and angle them slightly inwards and down to where it's shining in towards your truck and away from oncoming drivers. And put those on separate switches. So you have a left side and a right side. It's a lot more wiring. It might not look super pretty in the dash, depending on how you rig it up, but it's a possibility. Another good thing is separate your lights. Some people just have it, they flick on one switch and boom, all their work lights are on. You should really have it separated, at least for uppers and lowers, and hopefully your winch lights maybe even on a separate switch. Because as you bring your bed up, your work lights that might be on your tailboard are shining once again directly into people's eyes coming up behind you. The casualty on your bed might be blocking the upper work lights, but now your lower work lights are just blinding oncoming drivers, which isn't what you want. You want them to see you, not be blinded by you.
I'd like to make a statement, and we'll move on from this topic.
Yeah.
But if you need lights like that, like special or adding lights, so you can see while you are driving a car onto the bed, I'm firing you as a listener. So if that is you, you have been fired as a listener. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your time that you've served.
Please hit the like button on your way out.
Yeah, please hit the like button on your way out. And you can now be on Team TowManG. No Team PlainGuy for you. So,
Come over to the dark side. We have cookies.
Moving on from that, I want to give a little bit of throwback. So we haven't heard on the show. You guys haven't heard. We've been in constant, fairly communication with producer Sarah. As a lot of you guys know, Sarah is moved down. It is a shame. If it wasn't for the urgency of the time trying to get back from this trip, because we have a massive storm, not massive, but we have a fair-sized storm coming to our section of Ontario that I kind of would like to and need to be back for. I was about 2 hours away from producer Sarah. The closest I have been to producer Sarah in a long time. That kind of sounds weird. That being said, when we talked about, Sarah's move down southern, I don't know if we ever talked about where she is, but we could tell. I think we did discuss she was in Georgia. She talked about one of the cultural differences that you guys had down there was sweet tea, right? Every fridge at every home, everybody had sweet tea. So, and maybe there's a sweet tea connoisseur out there that'll tell me you're just not doing it right, but I have stopped tonight at Sheets, is what it's called. It's a chain of gas stations. I've seen a couple of them. They're pretty nice, and they seem fairly clean, and decent little spot to stop. And I got myself a sweet tea.
Let me guess, you hate it.
I got myself the original sweetened sweet tea, because there's an unsweetened version too.
Yep.
It sucks. Like, I don't know what. Like, I'm still drinking it because I'm like, maybe it's one of those acquired tastes. I don't know if there's caffeine in it. Would there be caffeine in sweet tea? Gee, while I'm going on this rant about sweet tea, can you Google if sweet tea has caffeine in it? Because, like, I do want to go to bed when I get to my hotel tonight, and maybe I will slow down on drinking this if it does. But this sweet tea is, like, I'm guessing it's not supposed to be like iced tea. I'm guessing it is its own thing, its own concoction, its own creation. It's not good. Like, Sarah, producer Sarah, I am sorry, and I'm going to send her a message when I get into my hotel tonight, telling her that this, and maybe someone could get at me in the comments down below on YouTube, send us an email, and tell me, hey, no, you didn't get real sweet tea. You need to stop by. If you have a place that I need to go try this sweet tea at, to maybe change my mind on how crappy of a setup this is, please comment down below over on YouTube or send us an email to towinglife@gmail.com, because my first impression, and I know it's from a gas station, so take it for what it's worth, sweet tea, you can keep that, America. Any luck, G, on finding out if it has caffeine in it?
Sweet tea can be a traditional iced tea that is commonly expended with the southern United States. It is made by brewing the tea takes off with hot water, and after that includes sugar to sweeten them. Originally, sweet tea is made with black tea that takes off, which does contain caffeine, but be that as it may, the sum of caffeine and sweet tea can change depending on components such as the sort of tea taken off utilized, the brewing time, and the serving measure.
Okay, so it's not like this thing is like a hypercharged caffeine like that restaurant that had lemonade or whatever we had spoken about back when, that they were serving that was like hypercharged lemonade or something of the sort. Okay, so like I'm not going to be up all night counting the amount of popcorn stucco on the ceiling of my hotel room. Especially with my tolerance to caffeine, I feel like I should be all right.
Sweet tea is pretty much just what I just said, is brewing tea
It's
leaves
tea,
and then sweeten it up with
and
sugar.
then
Right?
so I'm gonna have a okay.
It's
So
pretty
I'll be
much
worried
just
about.
tea with sugar, and it's normally served cold.
Well, yeah, and that's what they said, and that's what I checked, and I felt super northern because I go to this guy that's working at this place, and it was warm. Like I poured a little bit into a cup, tried it, and it's warm. It was a little warm, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And so I put some ice in a cup, and I fill up the sweet tea, and of course I got like not the biggest one you can get by any means, but a fair sized sweet tea.
Yep.
And I had to ask the guy as I was walking through, I'm like, hey, is this stuff supposed to be warm? And he goes, no, a lot of the customers think that's how we do it because of how they brew the tea, and then they just leave it sit there, it cools down, and you add some ice to the cup, and away you go. So, anyways, sweet tea, America, you can keep it. I will keep my all-dressed chips, and my ketchup chips, you can keep your sweet tea. We'll call it a fair exchange.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's just another one of those things. One of the reasons why I call us America Light is because we're different, but we're the same in so many different ways. And I think that's one of the best things about the towing industry is you get to meet all these different people. And I know we've talked about it before on the show of just being able to meet people normally not in the greatest of circumstances. So that person that might not give you the time of day otherwise, not want to have a conversation with you. I don't want to say they're forced, but they're more willing to open up to a tow truck driver when they're helping you. I don't know what it is, but we normally end up being some sort of therapist sometimes to the people who are having bad days in their back seat or passenger seat, whatever the case may be. And that's something
I'm not going to say that they're more willing to, as just it's really awkward to sit for a possible 2-hour ride. Not really, making small, how's the weather, how you been, like small talk kind of stuff like that. That the only way to pass, to me, it's always been on the longer trips, right? You never really get into too many in-depth conversations in a local in-town tow, right? Most of my in-depth conversations about all those things that we're not supposed to talk about have been on longer tows.
Yeah, because you have the time available. And I'm the type of person, normally I'm a chatter. And if the other person isn't a chatter, I'm good. I don't chat too much. But if they are a chatter, then I really got to try to watch my time management skills, especially if I'm just loading up their car, standing in their driveway, shooting the shit when I should be working.
Yeah,
right? we can all fall into that, and it's very easy to do, especially since you meet so many cool and interesting people. And that's one of the best things is with all these different people, you get to see different religions, different views, different outlooks on life. And I know a lot of us are, we're very stoic, I guess. A lot of us have very, I don't want to say negative views on the world, but we believe it when we see it, I think. And I think a lot of towers are more so realists, and we understand that it could just end at any time and we don't try to take too many things for granted because we see horrible stuff out there on the road. So when someone complains about having a flat tire and it's their worst day, it kind of pisses us off, just like other first responders, law enforcement, EMS, those people.
You know what? I never really thought about that. I don't mean to cut you off on that, but I've never really thought about it. That you're right. Like the attitude of or views of a long-term tower.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the word long-term, and I think that can apply for the most part after 3 years to 5 years.
Yep.
You would have a different outlook on things, meaning, maybe things don't kind of get to you as much. You're a little more open to other ideas, and that because of, you're right, the terrible things that we do see. So do you think that would be less likely to be the case for, let's say, an operator who simply does a roadside compared to an operator who does, let's say, repos compared to somebody who does police work, right? Like let's compartmentalize those into individual sectors, right? You have drivers that are just roadsides. Do you think that those guys are less likely to have that open opinion, just because again they don't see the gruesome, grimy, bad. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still the risk of to them, just like every other operator out there.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know what I mean? Do you see where I'm going with that? Like, do you think it would have a different effect on their outlook on life or their willingness to have these open conversations because of that?
So it's a very common thing of you pick up on traits of the people that are around you. So if you surround yourself with bad people, you will be influenced by those bad people and you will slowly start picking up on their bad habits. So with that being said, if you only do, let's say, repos and everyone that you meet is pissed off and upset and very confrontational because, hell, you're stealing their car legally, you're going to have, over time, a diminishing demeanor on people and outlook because the majority of people that you're dealing with are pissed off and upset, right? So you're going to see a lot of confrontation. You're going to be a lot more defensive. You're going to get your back up. And that's a coping mechanism for all the shit that you got to deal with. The roadside guy, he's going to see a lot of entitled people, I think. And he's going to see a lot of that. He, she, them, whoever. If I say he, I mean anyone.
I think he's also going to see a lot of grateful people too, is something to take into account in that.
Yep. So honestly, if you only do roadsides, and if you're only doing a roadside, it's probably going to be more so shift work. And I think if you only do roadsides, it's going to be more so of just a job. I don't think you're going to be a die-hard tow truck operator. You might be a tow truck operator for the rest of your life.
Shots fired.
No,
shots fired. I like it. Keep on the hot takes.
Okay, so if you only do roadsides and like you work for
TowManG,
if you drive a truck that has the 3-letter roadside word printed on the side and nothing else. I'm looking at a pen from them right now, and I just want to show it up. And anyways,
nope, you can't. No.
You're going to. I honestly think, like, yes, you are still doing a dangerous job, and you're doing the same sort of things that everyone else in the industry is doing. But I think it's a lot easier to be disconnected from the actual industry when you're just doing roadside in that aspect, because it's less fun.
Okay.
I'll just go out and say it. It's less fun. It's less energetic.
So let me ask you this then, Mr. TowManG. What kind of towing do you need to be considered a real tow operator?
I'm not saying that you're not a real tow operator by just doing roadside. I'm saying there's steering wheel holders. There's
wait. Oh, there is, not they are. Okay, no. Just confirm.
There is steering wheel holders, and we need them. There's a place in the industry for them. There's people that are just doing this as a job. There's people that are trying to make a career out of this, and then this is someone's life, right? The industry is their life.
Where do I rank on the scale?
This is your life, for better or worse.
That's fair. That's right? Fair. All right. I just wanted to see your opinion on it. I think I already knew the answer, but I wanted to hear it.
Yeah. The towing industry has consumed you in more ways than one.
Yes, agreed.
So I think, and just like you, if you only did roadside work and you didn't feel appreciated all the time and people didn't really value your service and you didn't really see a good return of investment on yourself, you wouldn't be consumed by the industry either, I don't think. Because you haven't been given the opportunity to grow.
I encounter all of those things except for the fact that I don't only do roadsides. Everything else is like I check those boxes off.
Yeah. So like if you are just a driver for a roadside company, the growth, you might be able to make it to a supervisor, maybe, for like that detachment. That's a possibility. But I just don't feel like there's that growth. You wouldn't need to have the drive to go out there and try to get work because your work is just always given to you. And now I do drive for a roadside. I do roadside work.
Yeah.
And I'm not shitting on the roadside at all. Once again, they have a very good foothold in the industry, and I'm not saying to abolish them.
I am.
I'm saying it's good filler work, but I like to eat meat and potatoes, and roadsides normally is just spaghetti. Don't get me wrong, I love spaghetti, but I just don't want to live on just spaghetti.
Okay, so if I get this right, roadside operators are not real tow truck operators as per TowManG, and Italians are bad people because who wants to eat spaghetti all the time? All right, man, you were just checking every box of hate crime we can fit into this episode.
You're taking everything way out of context.
You know what? It's because I've been in the States too long. I am starting to convert.
So, moral of my rant. A good rounded tow truck driver, operator, that will do the police work, have seen the wrecks, does the roadside calls, because then they can interact with general motoring public that might just not be having the worst day of their life, for their grandmother might have not just been flattened by that semi truck that you now have to tow, and maybe dabble in the repo bylaw stuff as well. That's a well-rounded operator. You're being exposed to many different situations. You're being challenged on different recoveries and stuff like that. And I think you're going to have a more go-getter attitude. You're going to try to figure stuff out. And especially if you only do roadsides, if you don't do that call, you don't really care about it, right? If you're working for a company that has a clientele base, you're expected to provide a higher level of service to deal with your one-on-one customer, I feel.
No, okay. I'm arguing with you right there. You are to provide this roadside or not, and again, God, I hate being the guy to defend a roadside. A roadside or not, that customer is your customer. Whether the roadside is your customer or Mary up the street who called you personally to come boost her car, whatever it is, either way, they are still your customer, and you're representing your company directly to them. So on that point, everything else you said, I totally agree with. I'm against the Italians too, man. I'm with you. But when it comes to a roadside customer kind of being you might be less likely to provide that. No, your customer is your customer, because even though the roadside is your customer, that person who is broken down, you are giving a representation of your company to them and yourself to them. And I think that might be something that we forget sometimes on the road, right? And guilty. Like I'll sit here and raise my hand as well. Right? You go, it's a 3-letter roadside call, or it's a 17-letter roadside call, or whatever roadside you want to say. Screw them, screw their customer. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a priority. But at the end of the day, unless you're literally, like I said, have a roadside plastered on the side of the truck and only that, you are still representing your company. And not just your company, but yourself and the towing industry as a whole. Right? Like, you are representing what we want the the customer to look for in a tow operator. So,
it's a double-edged sword. I want to cut you off there. It's a double-edged sword, because I honestly think with the rise of social media and computers and technology, we are all becoming disconnected, because what you just said, and we're all guilty of this, that call is less important because it might be a roadside call. Okay. That's still a person requiring help. That person and the customer that could have called you, still another person, human to human, right?
I don't like humans.
No,
I like
not
dogs.
too many people do, but we're kind of stuck with them because we are them, right?
Okay.
Unless you're a dog listening to the show, and then you're the best listener we got. Anyways.
That one didn't hit, but nice try.
Yeah.
Continue.
We all love dogs. We all love animals more than humans. Anyways, that's the thing, though. It's a person that still requires us help, and we are in that position to be able to provide that help. And that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people got into this industry, because we get some sort of satisfaction of being able to help people in their time of need. I don't want to say that's the only reason why you got into it, because that's a little sick and twisted.
It's a little self-serving, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's be frank. A lot of calls don't pay what they should. So if it's not as exciting to you and you don't get some personal reward out of it other than financial, probably not the best industry for you to be in. So it's got to be self-serving to you And you got to be able to go to bed at night with a clear conscience knowing that you're doing the right thing.
Agreed.
And
Now-
that's one of the things where when we get into this debate of, oh, it's a roadside call, we'll drop that down as a priority, or it's a cash paying customer, their cars could be sitting side by side. And from a company's point of view, they're going to send a truck to the call that's going to pay better rather than the roadside call. And that's understandable from a business point of view, right? Makes sense. You still want to provide that customer with a great level of service. But if that service is going to pay an extra $100 more to the company, you're going to send the truck to the call that's paying $100 more. That's just business, right?
I agree.
But at the end of the day, it's people helping people, and we need to. I think sometimes we need to slow down and remember that, because if you're having a bad day as an operator, you're showing up to another person that's probably also having a bad day. And you need to take that into account. And they're looking to you for help. You are there to help them in their time of need, no matter how stupid it could be. And I do mean stupid. A tarp wrapped around underneath someone's vehicle that need to be cut off, or they lock their keys in a convertible, or they have a flat tire and it's a 25-year-old man and he's got all the tools. He just doesn't want to do it in the rain. Whatever the case may be, they require our assistance in that point in time. And if we get there and we're in a bad mood, we are reflecting that company negatively, the roadside negatively. They might form a bad opinion on us. And that's one of the things where we meet so many people and we can see so many different points of view. I think seeing those points of views should be a good reminder to really slow down and try to treat everyone equally, I guess you can say. Hate everyone equally.
Absolutely.
Right?
Hate everyone equally. No, absolutely. Right? Like, where are we at for time before I go on to my next thing here?
We got like
I don't
5-10 minutes.
Okay, 5-10 minutes. Perfect. Yeah, no. So going to the tow that we were talking about, going down to Knoxville, Tennessee, I sat down for lunch. Part of the deal was with this gentleman, we had to fix something on his trailer, his fenders. It was a weird setup, anyways. We had to get a little bit of work done. I told him, all right, part of the deal, I'm not going to charge you for fixing that part. It was a quick enough job. But you're buying lunch when I get down to Tennessee. So
Good
he
deal.
was kind of, it was a great deal. He asked me when I got down there, you ever been to Tennessee barbecue? Or you ever have Tennessee barbecue? I said, no, sir. He said, all right, I got a perfect spot. So, I mean, these people were the most, they didn't know me from dirt, right? We've been communicating for about a day, just arranging this whole setup. Yep. And I still remember I pull in with his boat, and he has been all over. Like, he wants this boat. He loves this boat. This is like some custom company out of Canada. The boat was up getting restored, bringing it back. He wants to see how it looks. He hasn't even seen it. He's just seen photos. And so I sent him a text message and say, hey, I'm in the back parking lot. He said, all right, we're sitting inside. I said, all right, you want to deal with the boat first or the food first? Let's deal with the food first. Come on in here. All right, I'm in.
My kind of person.
Yeah, my kind of person. So we sit down. We have some wonderful pulled pork. It was delicious. This little spot was good. We had some food, and then we go outside and we look at the boat. But before we did that, we're sitting there eating, and he asked me what kind of truck I drove up in, because he hadn't been outside. Obviously, he hadn't seen my truck, and I tell him, 16 Dodge Ram Eco Diesel, and I chuckled because first thing he says to me, Eco Diesel. Justin Trudeau make you buy that? And I just laughed. I went, all right, you and me are going to get along just great. I am, regardless of what my political beliefs are, it was funny as shit.
Yeah.
And then we started getting into all the other stuff. I asked him, I said, as I'm driving through Virginia, and bits of Tennessee, I mean, like monuments with big crosses. And I go, are we in like I know the United States has a very high religion area, right? Like there is that high religion, especially in the southern states and that. So I asked him, I said, are we in a fairly religious part of the country? And he goes, son, you are smack dab in the middle of the Bible Belt. And I went, oh, okay. And he goes, are you a Christian? I said, are you carrying a gun? Keep in mind, we're in Tennessee. He chuckles, I chuckle. No one had to answer the question. Right? But we went on talking about our views on different political things. And a lot of them lined up, and some of them were slightly different. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It wasn't, we were two people that could have two different views on things without it becoming an issue. Right? And we were talking about everything that you should not talk about. Politics, religion. What's the third one? I feel like there's a third one you're not supposed to talk about.
Politics, religion.
And money?
Yeah.
I mean, the only money we talked about was pay me the money that we agreed that you were going to pay me to bring this boat down here. So I guess we avoided that topic quite a bit. But no, it is true. You meet so many people, and when you're in all those longer runs, and this one wasn't. It was a short interaction. It was a 45 minute to an hour lunch. But it is true. You can really learn a lot about people, and if you're open-minded about it, because like if you cannot ask the question. Here's a general rule for any operator that is out there on a long run. If you can't have an open mind to the subject in which you want to, you're about to ask, don't ask it. If you can't have an open mind about religion, don't bring up religion.
Yeah.
Because it is going to make that ride even more awkward. When you go, so are you Catholic? And they go, no. And you go, well, you should be. It ain't going to go well.
No.
Right?
No, that's how wars are started.
Yeah, exactly. So like me and this gentleman being able to go, are you Catholic? And I got no problem saying I'm baptized and whatever. I'm technically a Catholic. I'm non-practicing. His was, are you Catholic? And my question was, are you carrying a gun? You don't want to tell me that. I'm not telling you the other one, and we can agree that we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Right. So you really got to watch, and it depends. It's so hard to talk about because it's person to person, right? Like I've been lucky in the fact that I can go into a conversation with just about anybody about anything. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I don't think this show would have lasted 119 episodes or whatever it is we're at.
And especially with all the dumb shit that comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, which way does the highway go here? Oh, no, sorry, I'm trying to figure out. That was a weird one. That one wasn't. You guys are pretty good at marking your stuff out down here, but that one kind of caught me off guard for a second. I mean, it's the goddamn I-81. Just keep heading north. As long as we're heading north, we're heading in the right direction. But
moral of the story is treat everyone the way you want to be treated. That counterproductive thing that you get taught in kindergarten kind of holds true. If you aren't able to answer a question, don't ask the same question to someone else. That's fair. Be open-minded. Like, you might not believe in a certain faith, but just understand that they were brought up that way, and their beliefs are just as valuable to them as your beliefs are to you. So I think if you can take away anything from this show is don't have your upper work lights on when you're working in the night on the side of a road and blinding oncoming traffic, and just treat everyone respectfully out there.
And don't do roadsides if you don't like spaghetti. On behalf of myself and my wonderful co-host, Mr. TowManG, we thank you for joining us on this special episode as I continue my travels north back to Canada. And we cannot wait to see you again next wech. Do not forget, head over to towinglife.ca/recovery. Get your 2024 Recovery of the Month calendar. Money goes to charity. It's for a good cause, and it helps support the show. Thank you. Take care.
Toodles. We never talked about your Mennonite university.
Fuck it. It's not towing related.